Hey everybody, Steve here. How's it going? Talking about Gin Rummy. Gin Rummy is a two-person game. You play to basically the score that you want to play to. You can play to 100, you can play to 300, you can play to 500 with your friend. You make it up and play to it. If you are playing on a device, then the device will dictate how long the game is. Okay. Points. We're talking about points. How do we get points? The points are dictated based on the score. The number on the card. So an 8 would be 8 points, 7 would be 7 points, 2 would be 2 points, 3 would be 3 points. Picture cards are 10 points each, doesn't matter what suit. Aces are 1 point each, doesn't matter about the suit. You can have 2 successful groupings in your hand when it comes to Gin Rummy. You can either have 3 or 4 of the same number, which is a set, or you can have, as long as it's all in the same suit, if you have 3 cards in sequential order, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Jack, Queen, King, in the same suit, that is also, that's called a run, okay? And talking about points, when you are successful at building sets and runs, they become 0. So if you have 3 sets of cards in your hand and you have 0, 0, 0, that's Gin Rummy because you have 0 points there. Deadwood is the points that do not fit in your hand. So in other words, here we have 5, 6, 7. That's a successful run, so that's 0 points. This is a successful set, 4 cards of 8, so that's 0. So in this situation, I would have 6 points. Okay. And then this card would be 0, 0, and they would be 5 points. You know what? Just for argument's sake, I'm going to switch these just for a second to prove a point here. All right, now we are going to deal 10 cards to each person face down, and my opponent, the non-dealer, gets to choose if they want the top card or not. This card is very important because number 1 is the knock card, which I'll talk about in a minute, and number 2, it is you have to have this in your hand, 6 points in your hand or less in order to knock. So in other words, this is 0 points, this is 0 points, and then this was 5. Well, since 5 is less than 6, I can now knock. So if I did knock in that situation, 0 points, 0 points, 4 plus 1 plus 1 is 6. So 5 versus 6. So I would get 1 point for that. It's not very much. 1 point for that. Now, if the situation was reversed, and I think, I've got 6 points, that's pretty good, and I knock, and my opponent has 5, well, now I just gave my opponent 25 points for doing that because he had a better hand than me, or she had a better hand than me, and the difference, the deadwood, in our hand. So that would be 26 points they would get. Okay, there's 2 ways to end your hand. You can either have Gin Rummy, so you have either 3 sets or 3 runs or a combination of the 2, or you can knock. If you knock, then I can take my, I should go back for 1 second. If you have Gin Rummy, you lay down your cards, you get 25 points plus the points in your opponent's hand, the deadwood. If you knock, I can take my cards and play them against your cards. So if my opponent has, let's say, a 5, 6, 7 of spades, and I've got the 8 of spades, I can play it against theirs, and maybe my points might go from 12 down to 2 or down to 0 if I get rid of all of them, okay? But you can only do that on a knock, and yes, that's good. You can only do it on a knock. So undercutting is when I have 6 points and somebody else has better. So I'm giving them a 25 point advantage plus the difference. That's undercutting. Okay. Bottom line is, last thing I'm going to say is, you have a goal. When you get your cards, you have to figure out fairly quickly, can you get to Gin? It's not a smart idea to keep a lot of high cards because if the person knocks or has Gin Rummy, then you have a lot of points in your hand. So keeping 2 kings and 2 queens and 2 jacks is probably not a great idea because you might end up with 50 or 60 points in a hurry. So if you can get to Gin Rummy and you can do it fairly quickly, you only have maybe 2 or 3 cards that will get you there, great. But if you're nowhere near it, and let's say the knock card was king, which it would be 10 points. If you have 8 or 9 points and you're not feeling comfortable about playing too long because you don't think you're going to get there, then I would knock and take your chances. Okay, so it all depends on the cards in your hand. If you have 10 cards and there are, you've got 8 different numbers, then you're in trouble. So you just try and sub them out the best you can. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you ever want to freeze frame this and take a look at it in case you forget something, but there you go. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Have a great day. See you next time.